All right, and we are live. How is everyone doing? Welcome back to the All-in-One Nerd Show. With me, as always, is my wonderful co-host, Tyler, aka Illumin Nerdy. How are you today?
I'm great. I am. I got some new comics in today, and I got to hang out with my wife. And I didn't film, which kind of sucks. But other than that, I had a pretty good Saturday. What about you?
Uh, it's been pretty good, pretty relaxing, I guess.
Good.
I finished up my video for tomorrow, so that's all squared away. I'm still kind of tweaking the thumbnail, but other than that, that's all squared away, thankfully. Um, and then I've been playing some Fortnite. I was texting you
Yeah.
earlier about that. I'm kind of addicted to that right now.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm trying to do like a social media detox and like an online detox. And I'm in the Brave and the Boys Discord, and I had to leave it because if I see they're on playing Fortnite, I'm gonna get FOMO, and I'm like, I don't need to be playing as much. So I will be joining back eventually, and I told Jake that too because I'm like, I don't want him to think I'm like mad or whatever. So and like this way I can like play on my own terms. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
I finished up all the things I have to do. Now I can like relax, play some Fortnite.
Is Jake playing with you? Because he mentioned it in the stream I was in. He was talking about it about Fortnite.
He has been, yeah, he's been playing way more than me too, I feel like. Um, yeah, he's been playing a lot. Yeah. Um, Adam, yes, we are going to play tonight, Adam. Yes, absolutely. I'm very much looking forward to that. I got a victory royale too before the show, so I'm very happy
Nice.
about that. So yeah, I've been playing a lot of Fortnite. I have been doing some reading. I'm still reading this book about like philosophy. I'm like on this my therapist told me I'm on a philosophical journey.
That's good to hear, though, right?
Yeah, I guess. So I'm reading a book about philosophy and whatnot. It's okay, but I have been reading Criminal for like comics, really enjoying that, rereading it, I should say.
Nice.
And I'm reading them all back to back before I broke it up. So, and I wanted to experience like all the stories to see like the interconnected world there and whatnot.
Yeah, like bigger
Um,
picture wise.
the bigger picture, kind of, yeah. And I'm still watching Futurama. So
Nice.
I'm on season 6, which I think it's like all the movies just cut up into episodes, I believe. So I'm on season 6 right now watching that, and still enjoying that. That's a fun show to kind of just turn on and kind of tune out and fall asleep to and whatnot. But what have you been? Well, you said first off, you said you got some comics today. Is that correct? Or you read some comics?
Yeah, I went to a new local comic book shop, and I just picked up some trades.
Oh,
So
cool.
picked up a lot of Zoe Thorogood I had to pick up, and
Mm.
some Daniel Warren Johnson.
You're speaking my language. Those are like two of my favorite authors and artists too.
Yeah, I can go over them quickly. So
Sweet.
for Zoe Thorogood, I got Life is Strange.
Here, I'll highlight you here too.
Life is
Nice.
Strange, Forget Me Not, which is a title she wrote, but she didn't do art on. But I want to read it. I have a feeling just flipping through it, I'm probably not going to continue with it. But this is volume 1. I at least wanted to,
Get it?
get
Yeah,
a
sure.
taste of it. I think it's based off a video game though.
It is. It is. Yeah.
Um, I got this baby finally.
Nice.
Yeah,
Awesome.
this looks up my alley. I'm very excited to get into that.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Um, and then for Daniel Warren Johnson, I got the only Daniel Warren Johnson work I don't have in the library, which is The Ghost
Ooh,
Fleet,
interesting.
which I haven't even heard of. But
I've heard very little. You'll have to let me know how that is because shout out to the Omni Bros. I won a IST gift card through one of their live streams actually. It was I haven't been tuning into their shows as much just because I'm like I'm like all YouTubed out now doing it and whatnot. I'm like I just
yeah,
want to like zone out. But one night I just so happened to tune in and enter the giveaway and I won. So and that was one of those books I was thinking about ordering, but I don't think I did off my IST order. I did order.
I actually screenshotted it, your order, as a reminder of some books I needed to
Oh,
get.
oh, sweet. Yeah. And I looked yesterday, or maybe it was today. I believe they're shipped now. So I'm hoping I get them this week sometime. And I think I'll do like a YouTube short unboxing haul or something. But that's anything else? Do you get anything else?
Yeah, I also got Ultra Mega Volume 1.
Oh, nice.
Time to finally check that out. I haven't checked it out, so it's time. And then Local Man Volume 1, which I think would be up your alley. This is a crime noir meets superheroes. It seems like a Captain America type figure kind of gets down on his luck and has to
Okay.
like move back in with his mother in the basement, and then a bunch of murder mystery elements kind of start happening. So
Sweet.
really pumped to
We'll
check
see
that
who
out.
wrote that. Yeah.
And then
Awesome.
I got this too.
Very cool.
Helen of Windtorn.
Yep. Yep. That's been all the books for the most part, besides like Life is Strange and then the Billy Scott book, which I already own, have been on my wish list forever now. So
Yeah.
you'll have to let me know how those are because I want to check those out. Yeah. So
Yeah,
awesome.
and anybody in the Florida area, read more comics in Brandon, Florida. It's super out of the way for me, but it's a awesome store. So check it out if you are from the area or visit the area, whatever. But really,
Sweet.
really
What
awesome guy
what
down
was it
there.
called? Read More Comics?
Yeah, it's called Read More Comics, and
Okay.
it's honestly like a little shack comic book shop, like mom and pop
No
style,
kidding.
but the selection is incredible, and the guy that runs it is really, really nice.
Sweet. Awesome. I'm down in Florida every now and then. Well, every few years, I should say. Yeah, I have family down there. So if I'm ever, and I think they live near Brandon, I'm pretty sure. So if I'll have to check that out if I remember. Let's jump over to the comments here real quick before we get ahead of ourselves. Fifth of Jack Gaming watched the finale of Invincible. Check. Finished watching some videos. Check. Waiting for awesome all-in-one nerd show. Priceless. Well, thank you for being here, Adam. It's always amazing when you're in the chat. Beyond Comics, that Adam Eve fight scene in the finale was so rad. Yes, we'll dive into that for sure.
Oh yeah.
Let's see. He is everywhere today. You're a busy man today. It's yeah. No relaxing Saturday for you. Not today, I guess. Not really, at least.
No,
You're all over the place.
yeah, my weekends usually I'm up by 6. I'm filming until I don't know, maybe 10, 11, and then I gotta start doing stuff with the wife or around the house or whatever. So
Sure.
go, go,
Yeah.
go.
Wow. What have you been reading, watching lately? I don't think we talked about that yet.
Watching, the only thing I watched was Invincible. I feel like
Nice.
I'm forgetting
Did
something.
you watch the new episode of Daredevil? Yeah.
Oh yes, I did watch that. Yes.
How was
Yeah.
that? I haven't seen that one yet. I think I'm gonna wait to binge it all. I think. I don't know if I want to watch it weekly.
I thought it was pretty strong.
Okay.
The ending, I think you'll enjoy. I think it's a nice you know, gut punch ending that really makes you want to see the next episode. So I think you'll at least like the ending.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. What have you been reading? Anything good? Anything you want to talk about?
So I'm still finishing Nightwing by Tom Taylor. I think I have one more volume to go to finish that.
Okay.
But I've been still binging Audible. I finished
Oh, nice.
the next book in the Throne of Glass series, which was Throne of Glass. That was pretty awesome, high fantasy book, kind of geared more towards a female audience, but it's still very high fantasy, really, really a lot of fun. And
Okay.
then I just started Super Gods by Grant Morrison, which is
I don't think I've even heard of that.
it's something. I got If you really want to, kind of not only learn a lot of the ins and the outs of like some legendary creators in comics, but learn the ins and outs of Grant Morrison's brain, and it just like it feels like you're on an acid trip. Read that book or listen to it, whatever.
So it's like a regular prose novel then?
Yeah, it's essentially him breaking down how characters came to be, how the creators came to like the realization of making those characters, what those characters represent during the era they were created in, and then you just have Grant Morrison just going off into a whole nother dimension of why comics are so important, which is like if you do ever listen or read it, chapter 8 specifically is like I was like driving while I was working while listening to it, and I'm like just like enthralled. Like I just felt like I don't know, I was just tripping on acid or something. I don't know.
Okay, interesting. I will have to add that to my list. All right. I don't know. I haven't read too much like Grant Morrison comics. I've read Doom Patrol by him, which I enjoyed, but I think I read All Star Superman, probably a couple others I'm forgetting. But yeah, so I don't know. I'm kind of nervous to read that then.
Yeah, the peak of it is learning about the creators though. Like
okay, cool.
Like he goes into like Jack Kirby and how like Jack Kirby like after they created Captain America, American neo-Nazis like stormed into the building and he went down and like got into a fist fight with them to like show him who's boss. So it's like really, really cool stuff like that.
Sweet. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. All right. I'll fit the Jack Gaming. I can't wait to binge it. It was solid this week. Yeah, maybe I'll yeah, I don't know. I'm on the fence. Maybe I'll give this one a shot to kind of determine what I want to do as far as yeah, we'll see. Matt asks, "How are you feeling, man? You look better." I'm feeling great. Thank you for asking. Yeah, I was sick a couple weeks ago now, and it was brutal there for a few days, I'd say. But yes, I've been feeling a lot better. So thank you for asking, Matt. Any comics that you're reading?
No, I'm finishing up Nightwing by Tom Taylor, and I just started.
Oh, you mentioned. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Hulk by Philip Kennedy Johnson, Volume 1. I'm like an issue or two into that.
Gotcha. Okay. I had Beyond Comics on yesterday on the channel.
Yeah, saw
Liam,
that.
Yeah, and he mentioned Philip Kennedy Johnson a lot. So I have to, and I don't think I've read anything by him. So I'll have to dive in and read some Philip Kennedy Johnson. He recommended some things. Let me see if I have it here. Maybe you've read it. Where is it? Give me one sec. Here we go. There was this new one that just came out by him, which I'm definitely going to pick up. Crocodile Black, it's called. It's a crime book, I guess, or a comic. That one just came out, though, I believe.
I haven't heard of that one.
What? Oh, The Last God. It's also another name too. I can't remember what it was now.
Something Spire.
Yeah, yeah. He talked about that one a lot, and then he also he mentioned like Hulk, and he did Superman and whatnot. So, The Last God seemed cool though. I might try to read that digitally. That seemed like a good one. Yeah,
yeah. I've read like an issue of it, but it has two standard sized hardcovers, one by The Last God and the other by the new title. So
the new title.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, but
yeah, that's annoying. Let's see. Adam, Born Again was a thing I was super looking forward to, so I have to catch it as it comes out. Gotcha. That makes sense. Yeah. I could definitely wait to binge it. I enjoyed the first 2 episodes, but I'm not like all in, I guess. Not yet. So today we're going to be talking about Invincible season 3. We'll talk about it as a whole, but we'll talk a majority probably about the finale. Yeah. Before we do that, we do want to talk some news, but I don't have any news to talk about. I don't know. Like I said, I'm doing a social media detox, so I'm like off social media entirely. So I don't like I don't see news that comes out. So, Tyler, do you know of any news that
I
is maybe
mean,
worth mentioning?
what we talked about in um, the releases of the week show, which is
Mm-hmm.
DC announced another, I don't even know, like 20 books that are going to be
Oh,
coming
damn.
out. So that was pretty exciting.
Okay.
DC's getting their act together when it comes to collected editions and collecting stuff that hasn't been collected in a long time. So if you're in the collected editions world or comics in general, it's a good time to be a DC fan right now.
Yes. And I know you said in your latest video yesterday that came out, or maybe it was the day before. No, it was yesterday, wasn't it? It was Friday. Yeah. You said it was the golden age of collected editions. And I think
Yes.
that's 100% true. It is a good time to be a comic book fan.
Yep.
Absolutely. Um, don't know if you guys saw Tom King's Batman Omnibus Volume 1 is coming out soon. Oh, so is that one of the announcements that got
Yep.
announced finally? I know that's been uh, speculated and people have really wanted that for quite some time now. I feel like a couple of years maybe, or since it ended.
Yeah.
Um,
Officially announced today or this morning.
Sweet. That's great. That's great to hear. Will you be picking that up, or do you
Yeah.
own the?
I'll
You
grab it. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I'll grab it. I don't. Yeah, we'll have to see. I haven't read Tom King's run. I do like Tom King, so maybe. Yes, I want to snag that Simon Birds of Prey.
No.
Okay, so there's a Birds of Prey Omni coming out now too.
Yeah. Gail Simone's Birds of Prey, which is probably one of her most highly acclaimed runs. I mean, everything she touches is typically gold for a lot of people, but that's probably the one that people have been clamoring for the most.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. I haven't read. I don't think I've read Gail Simone. I
None?
don't think I have. No, I
Hmm.
don't think so. I
Recommend
hear
Secret Six. Read that.
Secret Six.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Beyond Comics, hope you're doing well. Thank you for tuning in. So many Batman Omnis coming out. I need to start being more selective. Yeah, that's fair. I feel like maybe that's a common problem with comic book fans too, especially in the collected edition scene. Is there's so much at times, so much to
Yeah.
collect and read. It's hard to keep up.
And in my haul, I mentioned that Nightfall Volume 3 Omnibus is going to get a reprint soon, and it also was announced. So that's coming out. Another Batman Omnibus.
Okay. Well, wow. That's crazy. That's crazy. Read Red Sonia, which was amazing. That's Gail Simone. I have heard Red Sonia is good. Is that collected in any edition? Do you know?
I
Uh,
think there's a Dark Horse colossal sized edition of it, I
okay.
think. But I
Okay.
don't collect Conan stuff, so I may not be the leading expert.
Gotcha. All right. Adam, let me know if you know. I'm sure you might own it. So yeah, so I guess no news of the week. I will admit I do have to do better as far as prepping the news of the week though. So that's kind of on me. So my apologies to the viewers out there. But if you know of any other news of the week in the comments here, let us know and we can kind of talk about it and whatnot. Um, I don't think there's any major movie news or anything like that. So I don't think we're missing out on anything on that front, hopefully. Um, so yeah, we're gonna talk Invincible today. Kind of continuing from our first Invincible episode that we did a few weeks ago now when the series first started. So Tyler, how would you rank this series or this season overall compared to the others?
I would say it's my second favorite season behind the first season.
Okay, interesting. I would say I'd probably be right there with you. I think this finale really picks up some of the slack, to be honest with you, and
Yeah.
makes up for the rest of the season was good, solid throughout. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't, yeah, I would say it was good. But this finale for me, like, really made this season.
Yes.
Um, I thought it was really quite good. Jumping over to Fifth Jack, the complete Gail Simone Red Sony omnibus. That's the name of the hardcover I have. It's like library size hardcover, I believe. Gotcha. Okay, thank you. I will look into that. Maybe I'll read it digitally. I have so much to read though. That's the thing. I feel like every episode there's like 5 books. I'm like, I got to read that soon. Like I I don't know. I'll get there eventually, maybe. But yes, Invincible season 3. What are your like initial thoughts about this season? Tell me.
My first initial thoughts, like immediately jumping into it, was the animation was lacking
Mhm.
majorly. And that was probably the hit because I think if it had season one's level of animation, I honestly think it would be my favorite season. But season one's animation was top tier animation in general, not even just looking at Invincible. But they did pick it up with this finale in season three. So, at least they showed off a little bit, but I would have liked a more perfected product as far as the animation goes throughout the entirety of the season.
I would agree with you there on a few things. I think for me, I would have liked more consistent animation throughout this season in particular. I don't necessarily agree with you though, as far as the animation in the first season being like some of the best in
Really?
animation. No, it's good, but some of the best, I don't know about that. I don't know. Um, yeah, I don't know. But regardless, going back to season 3, I do wish it was more consistent throughout. The finale, like I said, really picked up some
Yeah.
of the slack when it comes to the animation. Although I will say there was this one shot in particular in the finale that I thought looked awful.
Hmm.
And we can talk about that here too. Um,
I wonder if you can find a
yeah,
still. That would be cool to bring up.
what's that? Oh,
Like a still of that image.
that would that would have been good to prep for it. You're right. I can try to Google it and see if I can find it. I don't know if I'll be able to, but yeah, I overall I would give this season, I guess, on our initial thoughts, probably like 7.5 to 8 out of 10. It's somewhere in that range. I'm not sure where yet. Probably leaning more towards an 8, if I'm being honest. What about you? Where would you kind of rank it on your scale, would you say?
I think I would probably land at about a 7.5.
Okay.
Um,
So same area. Yeah.
because I still do have my reservations that I initially kind of voiced when we watched the first, what was it, 2 seasons? Um, the
Hmm.
changes that they did with the character of Cecil and the relationship between him and Invincible and how it kind of felt different and I didn't like the changes that were made. So I I don't know. I think there's a pretty steep um rating difference between season 1 to season 3 and then even steeper between season 3 and season 2 for me like on my scale.
Okay. Interesting. What would you rate season 2 and season 1 then?
Season 1 I'd probably put somewhere at like a 9. I thought
Okay.
season 1 was phenomenal. So much emotion and shock.
Yeah.
Season 2 I thought was kind of forgettable if I'm being honest. So I'd probably put that somewhere at like a 6.5, maybe 7. I
Interesting.
thought it
Okay.
was above average, but it wasn't anything like, you know, if I'm a Invincible watcher and I watch season 2, that's not the point where I'm like, man, you guys got to tune into this. Like, I would
Right. Okay.
just not really mention it to anybody.
Right. Interesting. Okay. I would agree with you that season 2 is definitely a little uh lackluster compared to the first and even this season. I will say that.
Yeah.
And it is a little bit forgettable. I don't know why that is. I think maybe, at least for me, I the uh, final fight scene, the big third act, I guess you could say, of the second season with Angstrom Levy was okay, but it wasn't as good as like Omni Man versus Invincible. And honestly, I don't know if we'll ever get like that another fight scene like that in this show. Like I think I really do that's some of the best fight scene. That's like one of the best fight scenes we'll ever get in the show, to be honest.
Even after the finale?
Yeah, yeah. I think
Wow.
I think the first season fight scene between Omni-Man and Invincible, that's that's like top tier stuff right there. Yeah, I do. I think because there's so much emotion in, within that fight scene that it's going to be hard to kind of replicate that. I feel like in
I
even
guess that's
future
fair now
seasons.
that I think about
Yeah,
it.
yeah. But let's kind of dive into this finale here and talk a little bit about that. I guess first and foremost, I think we should maybe give our condolences to Rex Splode. He passed away. Rip. I
Yeah.
know in our first episode that we talked about Invincible in this starting of the third season, we were both big fans of Rex Splode and kind of his arc. We both read the comics, so we kind of knew his fate, right? So I
Mhm.
don't think it came as too much of a shock to us, but I think it's really well done here. Um, I don't to be honest, I don't remember how it's done in the comics. I know it's similar, but I don't know if there's that character arc from Explode that we get here. No,
No.
okay. Yeah. So I think here it's way more effective, and I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, and it's sad to see him go. He really did become one of my I think he's my favorite character of the season, to be honest. He
Yeah.
really he brought it. It was awesome. I really enjoyed his character.
Yeah, I think when we first kind of talked about, because his arc kind of started building up, was it in episode 2, I think, or something like that?
Yeah.
And we were beating around the bush of the fate of the character really, really hard. And I think
Sure.
we
Yeah.
even got called out in the comments, like, stop spoiling it. But we didn't say it exactly. But
Right.
I do think it was actually handled way better in the show than the comics.
Okay.
The comics, you really don't spend a lot of time with Rex. I mean, the only time you spend with him as a character is during the Adam and Eve and Rex Splode kind of origin story building up to their relationship. But other than that, I mean, he's kind of just a douchebag. He's just like the typical like teen jock that treats women as objects and stuff like that. So I mean, it's
Right.
not really like
Not a good dude. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
not someone you really root for,
and when you see
Right.
him go, and when you have the funeral scene in the comics, you're like, eh, okay, like
Whatever. Yeah.
I'm not gonna miss him exactly, so no big deal. But I think they handled it great here, and I usually gauge that with my wife because obviously I've read the comics and she hasn't, so she didn't
Right.
know what's gonna happen. And when he died, she looks over at me and is like, I really liked him, and I'm like, man, they did good there. That was a good play.
They for sure did. And I think the voice actor, who I'm drawing a blank on his name, I think he does a great job. I think
Yeah,
in addition to the writing, I think his voice acting definitely helps out and lends to um, that emotional aspect of the character, I will say.
yeah.
Um,
I do want to say something as far as that goes too.
yeah.
I've been seeing all of the comparisons, which I'm acting like there's like a million people going to watch this and take my word as gospel, but
I mean, I think they will. I do, at least. I take your word as gospel. Yeah. Yeah.
there's been a lot of comparisons, obviously, with Gambit's death and Rex Splode's death, and how they are very similar. And of course, there's tons of people making the accusations that Invincible copied X-Men 97. Invincible did do that scene first, so let's just
Let's
set
settle
that
that.
straight. Yeah, that Invincible did that first. He died the exact same way in the comics. He just didn't have as much of a character arc leading up to the death, but same exact way.
Got it. So, if anything, X-Men 97 copied from the Invincible comics.
Yes, in theory, yeah.
Those bastards. What the heck? Adam says, agree. For some reason, I think Rex had better character development in this show. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I think also, too, and I'm drawing a blank on her name, his kind of, I don't know if they were dating, but there was clearly they had a thing. The one that could grow bigger and smaller and whatnot. What was her name?
Shrink Ray.
Yes. I think also too seeing that relationship and whatnot also adds like an extra layer of depth to this arc, to his arc, and then also his eventual death. I think definitely adds to it.
Yeah, which is kind of interesting because Shrink Ray was actually a male character in the comics, so that change from male to female character gave us that ability to
Right.
explore with that character romantically, which was kind of nice too.
Yeah, I forgot about that. I forgot it was a male in the comics. Yeah. Wow. And I will say I like her character as well. I hope
Yeah,
we see more of her. It kind of seems like her arc is like she's getting out of the game and she just kind of wants to live a normal life. We'll see maybe in the season 4 Rex's death changes that for her and she decides, no, I want to be a part of this and help fight, I guess. We'll have to see. Yeah, I'm curious to know what would everyone rate it. The whole season 3 as a whole. GK Ultra, what is up? Just want to say the finale was amazing. I love seeing Rex get some spotlight during the Invincible War, as well as Eve during the Conquest fight.
yep,
Yes, Rex Lowe definitely kind of came in clutch there during the Invincible War, and then also Eve definitely came in clutch during the Conquest fight. Like she's badass.
yeah,
She really is. And we'll talk a little bit more about that here in a second. But yeah, I think there's not too much more to add about Rex Explode's character other than I think they did his character uh, better than in the comics, you know.
yeah,
And it is interesting too because I feel like Robert Kirkman in some ways uses the comic as kind of a blueprint to see like what worked, what didn't work, and then make that change in the adaptation, right? I think we
yep,
saw that quite a bit in The Walking Dead as well,
yep,
and then also here. So it's interesting that he and I don't think there I don't think I'm not making the argument that Robert Kirkman like makes the comic just to segue into like a TV show or anything like that. But I definitely think he uses that opportunity to change some things for the better, if we're being
yeah,
honest here. But this finale episode was brutal. I think it's definitely I it might be the most brutal episode in the series, to be honest. I
yeah,
think so. I think it's even more brutal than the season 1 finale.
yeah.
It is intense here. It is intense. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um there's just so much gore and blood throughout and it was a lot at times, you know, and yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot for sure.
Yeah, and I also think that added, I mean, not to get too gruesome, but the added detail of like how much we've seen like bones sticking out of people's arms and legs and stuff, like that just adds like a whole nother layer of like, dang, that's very unsettling to see happen.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think too, uh I think there's a couple scenes with Conquest that really just show how far they went.
Yeah,
The one with Omni Kid or Omni Boy, whatever he's called, with him like stretching him out, and you even though you really don't see anything in that, see, like he doesn't rip him apart, but you hear like the muscles rip, and that was gross. I was like,
yeah,
oh, I don't like that. That's yeah. Um, and then also too the scene with Conquest just punching Adam Eve and her face and her jaw just like I was like, oh my god,
yeah.
that's wild.
And
Uh,
just the buildup of brutality for conquest. Like for example, that scene where he's ripping Oliver in half or attempting
right,
to,
right.
just the zoom in on the eye while Oliver's tears are falling on his face. I mean, that was like, this dude is a maniac. Like he
A
doesn't care that
maniac.
he's ripping a kid in half. I mean, he's just going for it.
he's not holding back, and
No.
he does not want to hold back either. He kind of says that too in the episode at some points where um he like the Viltrum Empire told him to like go all in if
Yep.
Mark resisted, and Mark resisted, so he's like, I'm not holding back now. I'm going for it, and he does. He does. Let's jump to the chat real quick. For the Jack, would give it 7.5. Tempted to go 8, but I think it was a solid watch. Yeah, I think we're both right around there as
Yeah.
well. Beyond Comics has best season so far, best character development, especially Cecil, and seeing Mark's frustration at his methods. Yes, I did. We will talk about Mark's character arc as well because he kind of has one here too, and I
Yep.
think that it's interesting. Um, a lot of death and carnage. Holy smokes! I know, especially too with the way it's shot when Conquest is like holding Mark and they're arriving at that beach where the city is. I don't know if we know where that city was or whatever, but that was intense too because we got shots of like the civilians, like they're reacting kind of, and boom, and then there's even a kid. We see a kid's like I don't think he dies, right? But his arm like gets chopped off, and it's like holy smoke. That was intense. And we got
Yeah.
a similar scene like that with the subway in the first season, which I think I think that was a bit of more shocking when I watched that in the first season, for me at
I
least.
agree.
But here I think it's well done as well. Like that also was very shocking. Um,
I actually like the way that that scene's depicted in the comics a little bit more. It's a little bit more cinematic. You don't see as much of the brutality, but like in the comics they do where Conquest grabs Invincible's head and starts flying him through, the city, the mountains, everything, and it just slowly pans in on Mark's mouth as he's just like screaming for help essentially. So I really liked the way they did in the comics. I felt like them changing it kind of felt a little too reminiscent to that of Omni-Man and what he did in the subway. So,
right.
but it did show the brutality of the character, especially like you said, the kid. And this is the second kid we've seen violence done to in the season. So they're really not pulling any punches when it comes to that stuff.
No, they are not. They really are not. Beyond Comics, also Mark finally getting a W by flailing his 2 remaining lives at Conquest.
Yeah.
Amazing. That scene reminded me of something else, and I can't remember what it was or what it is, and it's driving me crazy. Where this, it might have been, it might be Monty Python and the Holy Grail, where he gets
Yeah.
his like limbs chopped off, but he's just still fighting.
The Black
It
Knight.
kind of, it kind of reminded me of that a little bit,
Yeah.
where he's, yeah, I don't know, but I feel like there's another scene somewhere of somebody like getting. And it's played for comedic effect too, where they're like getting their arms broken and they're still like trying to fight. And I cannot remember for the life of me where that's from, but it does remind me of Monty Python and the Holy Grail and the knight who gets all his limbs chopped off and he's still trying to fight.
I think you're talking about Kung Fu Hustle,
No, I don't know. Well, maybe.
where he like paralyzes his arms and then he starts flailing his arms at him. It's also a
No,
comedy.
no, I don't think I haven't seen that, but I'm sure I've seen that clip on like TikTok or somewhere. I think it's something else. I'll have to try to. I don't know. I'll have to try to find it. Let me know, anyone in the comments, if that rings any bells for you. Let us know because it's honestly been killing me. I cannot figure out where it's from. For the Jack, breaking it down as it was happening, new level of being a villain.
Yep.
Yeah, I feel like Conquest is definitely the most sinister villain we've seen so far, like by far. And yeah, very disturbing character in a lot of ways. Not only because he enjoys being so brutal and just killing so many people, it seems like, but also too, he talks about he like monologues and
Yeah.
how he's lonely, and
Yeah.
that also was disturbing in its own right, I guess, in some ways, you know. Um, Is that in the comics too?
No,
That's not. So that's added. That's what I thought because I'm like, I really don't remember this from the comics.
yeah,
But I thought that added an extra layer of depth to Conquest. Now, don't get me wrong, it did not make me feel bad for Conquest at all.
no.
Um, but it was interesting that they threw that in there. I don't know. What do you make of that? I'm curious.
I don't know. I mean, there was a certain level of me that did enjoy it because it added, like you said, a certain level of sinisterness to the character. Like,
Right.
he's hurting people because he can't, be with or around people.
Right.
But
Everyone's scared of him, even his
knowing
people.
where the story goes and character arcs and developments being very, very vague here, I don't know how much it works. That's the only thing that I'm projecting myself into the future and future storylines, and it's just I don't know. It's I don't know. I guess I'll have to wait and see. I mean, I'm 50-50 on it. There was a
Okay.
level of it I like the sinisterness, but then there was also a part where I was like, was that really needed? I mean, Conquest ripping a kid in half is already kind of sinister. We could have stopped there and it got the point across, but I don't know.
Yeah, it was it it is interesting thinking about maybe why they threw that monologue by him in there about how he's lonely deep down and super sad and
Yeah,
how he feels alienated from his own people because everyone's scared of him. He doesn't even have a name. He says just a um what did he say? Title? No, it was something else. Action or I can't remember.
the
Something.
Conquest, that's what they call me.
Yeah. Um so it is interesting why they threw that in there because I don't think there's no in my opinion and I don't remember the where his character goes in the comics to be honest. So but there's like no redeeming that character at all from like an emotional standpoint for us. So, and I think the writers are smart enough to know that. So it is interesting to kind of figure out why they maybe threw that in there because if they weren't wanting us to maybe feel bad for him, I don't know. Maybe I guess just to understand the character a little bit more and why he does what he does. I don't know.
Yeah, that's where I was at is
Mhm.
is what was the addition to it because like you said, you don't remember where that character goes, but I do, and it's like,
Mhm.
like to me, it just doesn't add a level of depth that's necessarily needed for what follows. But I
Okay.
well, I guess we'll just see. I mean, I don't know.
We'll have to see. Yeah, I guess we'll have to see. Um, let's see. A fifth of Jack says Mark head banging bugged me. His head not getting any damage as he takes out Conquest. LOL. That was the biggest thing that bugged me from the episode. Um, I can see where that might bug you. For me, I thought it still worked. I guess I kind of put that because I guess if you think about it, you would think like, oh yeah, his head would probably be just as damaged. But I don't know. For me, it worked personally, and I thought it was brutal. Yeah, it was very brutal.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, like I said, I think this is the most gruesome and brutal episode that we've gotten so far in the entire series. I will say that.
Yes.
Second to the season one finale. Um, like I said, there was a few scenes and moments in this episode where I was like, "Holy smokes, that is crazy that they went there."
Yeah.
A lot of there was a lot of like shock value at times too. I felt like,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, but the animation, and we kind of touched on this. I do think it was better overall in the fight scene. This fight scene in particular with Conquest, um, I thought they really brought it. I did tease earlier that there was one shot that I did not like. Um, that was Conquest. I think he like flung Mark over a skyline or something, and we just see Mark like flying back. And if you look at the skyline and like the roads, it did not look good. I guess that's not the focus of the scene, right? So maybe I'm just kind of the outlier and I was looking at that instead of Invincible for some reason. But I was like, ooh, that does not look great, to be honest.
Yeah.
So that's that one shot. And I I should have took a screenshot of it or try to find one to show here, but I did not come prepared today, I guess.
Yeah, that must have been pretty like as far as a small detail, because I didn't pick up on it at all. I don't even know
Yeah.
what you're referencing.
Yeah, I think it's honestly, I'm not going to hold it against the show because it's such a small like nitpick. Like it's
Yeah.
a 2-second scene. And yeah, so it's just something I picked up on. Like I'm just being uh overly critical, I think.
Yeah.
Um GK Ultra, I don't think it was meant to make Conquest a sympathetic villain. I think it was just Kirkman playing with another mainline superhero trope of a villain you can identify with. Oh, that's interesting. I hadn't thought of that. Okay. I guess my biggest thing with that would be is I don't know, even like with what Conquest is telling us, I don't I don't I don't identify with what he's saying, I guess.
Yeah,
You
and
know?
I kind of disagree with this too because I think at its core, all of Invincible's villains have a level that you can kind of identify with. Like all of
Mhm.
them operate in a morally gray area. It's how they're going about it that makes them the villains. From Scourge trying to save Vulturemites to Dinosaurus trying to save the planet to Robot trying to save humans and save them from themselves. It's all in a moral gray area. It's just how they do it. So I think Conquest was the one exception where it was no, he just likes killing people. Like that is his character. Is he is psychotic, and that
Right.
was kind of a breath of fresh air. But now we have this complexity to this character that, if you ask me, it didn't need it. I mean, we have
Right.
complexities to the entire roster. I think if he was just a psychotic, maniacal Vulturemite that gets sent to kill people, that would have been a breath of fresh air, if anything, way different from the rest of the cast.
Gotcha. I see. I kind of I think I fall somewhere in the middle between you and GK Alter here. I do understand what GK Alter is trying to say as like because Conquest, if you boil it down, kind of what he's saying in that monologue is he's lonely, right? And I think
Yeah,
everyone on planet Earth has felt like lonely at one point or another. So I see what you're trying to say, GK Ultra, as far as like identifying with him in some ways. Um, but I see what you're saying, Tyler, where it is that if Conquest in the show, it was just this brutal force who just wanted to kill, and that's it. And he was kind of, you could almost say, a shallow character in that sense. For you, that would have been a breath of fresh air. So I see both points. And like I said, I think I fall somewhere in the middle where I I don't I don't see why they added that monologue and an extra layer of depth here. I guess maybe also too just to try to show how disturbed he is, Conquest, and then also too maybe to show uh how messed up like the Viltrum Empire is as well,
yeah,
right? Because they kind of created this monster, so to speak.
yeah.
Um,
And
so
and I do want to clarify too. I do think GK Ultra is correct. I do think that's why
they
Kirkman
put it in
added
there.
it. I'm
Okay,
just saying that it wasn't needed. That psycho character
sure.
would have
Okay,
been perfect.
gotcha. I see what you're saying. Okay, yeah. I mean, I guess I'm gonna wait till to see what they do with Conquest in the rest of the series to see maybe that monologue, that emotional, that depth to the character, I guess, pays off in some ways. I don't
Mhm.
think it will. I don't know. It seemed like an interesting choice. I'm not sure I'm here for it though yet.
Yeah,
GK Alter also adds since Invincible is kind of as a whole his love letter to superhero comics in general after being done dirty by Marvel. Interesting. Okay, I did not know that's so. Is that the back? Is that kind of like a origin story, so to speak, of Invincible that he was kind of done dirty by Marvel and he
I think so. I mean, Kirkman was a fan of superhero comics and Image and all those creators since he was a kid. So I think that probably added to him wanting
Yeah,
to tell this story more for image's sake, but
sure.
I mean, it's definitely a love letter to superheroes. That's clear as can be, but um what the reasoning behind it was, I mean, he was done wrong by Marvel, but did he do this because of that? I don't know.
I bet that maybe plays, like you said, probably a factor in it, in him creating Invincible. But like you said, and what GK Ultra is saying here too, I would agree. I think it's just kind of a love letter to the superhero comics in general.
Yeah. Yeah.
This whole universe that he creates for sure. Fifth of Jack, I'm tempted to read again just to see if I notice changes. I am also kind of tempted to reread Invincible. I don't think I'm gonna, because I have so much new stuff to read, and Invincible is a bit of an undertaking, but I am tempted to read it, and then also maybe like break down each story arc that they do and compare it. I think that'd make for some good content, I will say.
Yeah.
Um, so what else about this episode? Well, actually, speaking of Conquest, I did want to talk about this. What did you think of Jeffrey Dean Morgan as the voice?
I thought it was good. I did get wrapped up in my own head envisioning what's his name, the guy that we thought was going to be Conquest,
Um,
from
I can't
Better
remember.
Call Saul.
Yeah, I can't remember his actual. I know his fictional name in Better Call Saul, Mike. Actually, I don't. It's Mike something.
Yeah,
Almentrout, I think.
I got wrapped up in my head hearing his voice, and that was like perfect. Like when
Yeah.
I was reading Invincible, that's what I heard Conquest as, was like just this kind of like old, grouchy sounding man.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I liked it, but I do think if they used that voice actor, I would have maybe liked it more. I mean, we'll never know, so it is what it is, but it was good enough.
I I would agree for the most part. I was envisioning the actor from Better Call Saul. I'm drawing a blank on his name. If someone could let us know in the chat here what his name is, it's killing me. Um, I think his voice would have been way more effective in this role. I had a tough time hearing Jeffrey D. Morgan's voice
Jonathan
and
Banks.
Jonathan Banks.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I would have much preferred Jonathan Banks as Conquest. I think Jeffrey D. Morgan did a good job, but I had a hard time envisioning his voice as like this old tough dude. I don't
Yeah.
know. It was a little jarring for me at times. I will say I thought it worked in the more when Conquest, like during that monologue, and then also during some of like the more gruesome lines he had about how he just wants to kill, and like I thought it worked there. But I don't know. At first it was tough for me. I was like, I don't know if I like this.
Yeah.
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 I think there was a better choice out there for sure.
I just think Jeffrey Dean Morgan's voice is, for lack of a better way of describing it, like too clean, you know?
Interesting. Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
envision Conquest, like you can hear that experience and that age in his voice. Then there's just a little bit more, not necessarily rasp to it, but like I don't know. The guy that plays Mike, I mean Jonathan Banks, I think that would have literally been perfect. Like just so amazing if that would have been a thing. But
I
again,
would completely
really
agree.
like Jeffrey Dean Morgan. It was definitely good.
Yeah, I, like I said, I think he did a good job, but I wish, thinking about what we could have gotten, it kind of stung a little bit,
Yeah.
because I do like Jeffrey Dean Morgan too. I do like him. Like I liked him as Negan. Although I didn't finish The Walking Dead, but when the season I did watch of Negan, I thought he played that character really well.
Hmm.
But in that show, and in real life, he's not like a buff dude. He's pretty scrawny.
Yeah.
I don't know if scrawny is the right word, but he's definitely skinnier. Um, so it was just like I think that played a factor into it, where Conquest is so huge and Yeah, I would have just liked a little more grit to the voice,
Yeah.
in my opinion. I almost think Jeffrey Dean Morgan maybe could have voiced someone else more effectively. Like I think he could have maybe, or he could. I mean, he's not gonna, but he could voice the ultimate big bad. What's his name? Thrag?
Oh yeah, Thrag. I think I called him Scourge, but it's
I
the
don't know.
Scourge virus. Thrag is the leader. Holy moly,
Yeah.
I got all mixed up. Yeah.
um, Thrag. I think he could voice Thrag, and I think that maybe would be even better. Um, yeah, I do wish Jonathan Banks voiced Conquest. I
Yeah.
really do. And the character he played, I don't remember him from the comics too well. I do a little bit, so I
Who
don't
did he
really
play?
know what's that.
Who did he play?
Oh my, he played. I'll have to look it up. I think it's he's an older guy that I think like assembles a team.
Oh, Brit.
Brit, yes,
Yeah.
yes, and
That's fitting too.
what's that?
That's fitting too, though.
It is fitting. I will say that. I think him in that role does work as well, Brit. But I feel like it's almost wasted talent a little bit because Britt was in Invincible War for like a scene or two, and that's it.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's in the finale at all. So it was a weird choice.
Yeah.
It was a weird choice for me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Another example of like the type of voice I hear is like imagine Josh Brolin's. That's another like what I mean by like raspy and like experienced. Like that's kind of what
I
I'm
I
referencing.
think Josh Brolin could have voiced the character
Yeah.
a bit better too than
Oh yeah.
Jeffrey Dean Morgan. I do feel like I like Jeffrey Dean Morgan. I think overall I think it's just his voice that was a little jarring. Like his voice acting was good, was totally good,
Yes.
and I do think it was effective in more of the lines that were very disturbing and dark about like what like I thought it worked there, and I saw what they were going for, but I don't know. I think, like I said, I think he could have voiced Thrak. Would have been a bit better.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. I'm curious, kind of off topic, but I think that's that's the charm of the
Yeah.
show as we established. Still Invincible though. Who would you like to voice Thrag? And I feel like maybe we talked about it a little bit in our original episode, but I don't know. I can't remember. So I'm curious to know if you have someone in mind that would voice Thrag.
I mean, nobody that really is popping off the top of my head, but I definitely, as far as like the voice in my head that I heard when reading, I like envision this like, super deep voice. Doesn't have to be raspy necessarily because he is kind of young as far as Viltrumites go. And just this deep, almost like, you know, machismo alpha male kind of
Mhm.
projection of a voice. That's what I envisioned. Like if Jason Momoa had the line delivery possibility, I would hear his voice, but I
Interesting.
know
Okay.
that would be a travesty to watch. So but that type of tone, that's what I'm trying to say.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, I think Jason Momoa maybe with yeah, I think his voice definitely could work. I think they should try to get Bryan Cranston. And
Ooh,
I know Robert Kirkman has said that they've tried to get Bryan Cranston for a role for each season and he's turned it down. But I really think they should try to get Bryan Cranston for Thrag. I think that would work incredible. I really do. Um,
yeah.
yeah, that's my thoughts. Who's this mustache guy? Are we really supposed to trust his opinions when it comes to Invincible? I would argue yes, but to each their own, right? I hope you're doing well, Bunk, by the way. Thank you for tuning in. It's always a pleasure to have you here. Um, yeah, like I said, I think Bryan Cranston would be amazing for
That's a
Thrag.
solid pick. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, it would be a very expensive pick
Yeah.
yeah. Um, but going back to the finale here, I think overall they did Conquest well. Very sinister villain. I thought that was done very well. You really just despise this guy by the end of the episode.
Yeah.
And uh ultimately I am happy that you know, he's defeated, I guess. I was worried because, like I said, I don't really remember how it plays out in the comics. I remember like things, certain events that happened, but I don't remember like certain details, I guess. So I was worried they were going to fight for a bit and then Conquest was going to like fly off or something, something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that did not happen here. I'm glad that it was a full fight, a long fight too. It was, I know you mentioned too in the episode we did that you wanted to see longer fight scenes.
Yes.
And I feel like here we got that a little bit. It was, I feel like it was at least 20 minutes of fighting here
Yeah, it was probably
around there.
70 to maybe even 80% of the episode. I mean, it was a lot
It
of
was
it.
a good
Yeah.
chunk. It was a good chunk of the episode. Yeah. So I'm glad we got that. And I think the fight scene is well executed. And yeah, I thought Invincible, how he defeated him ultimately was, I guess, compelling in some ways,
Hmm.
the emotional depth between Adam Eve and Mark and as well. I knew Adam Eve wasn't going to die. I remember that part about the comic,
Yeah.
unless they like decided to change that, which I was like, there's no way they're going to actually kill her off here. There's just no way. So I knew she was going to survive, but I did forget that she like kind of revives herself and then like does this like beam thing out of her body that
Yep.
ultimately is kind of I don't want to say the final blow, but definitely helps Mark out a lot. It because it burned his entire like flat skin off.
Yep.
I was
Yep.
like, oh my god, that's also very gruesome. Yeah. So I don't know. What do you think about? What are your thoughts about Adam Eve and Mark and that whole thing in this episode?
Um, so there is three small gripes that I have in totality when it comes to the finale. And when I
Mhm.
say gripes, I mean like I liked it, but I just it left me with questions. So it's not
Okay.
even like a gripe. It's very I use that loosely.
Okay. Yeah.
The first one was the monologue, which we kind of touched on. The
Yep.
second one was the Adam Eve fight. Now,
Hmm.
loved the fight. So awesome, beautifully choreographed. Loved the animation during that entire fight scene. My wife loved it. Like she was like, get him, girl. Like she was like, fist pump in the air.
Yeah.
So loved the fight from beginning to end. But the one question that I had was, what is Mark doing? Like I in the comics, the altercation between Conquest and Adam Eve is very, very quick. And that kind of explains why it happens without the intervention of Mark, because Mark just got his leg broken. But in the TV or the TV show, he gets his leg broken and then he's like sitting on the ground just watching the
He's
fight
like,
happen.
I'm gonna take a breather for this one.
Yeah, and I get his
Yeah.
legs hurting, but like you're fighting for your death or for your life, and your girlfriend, the woman you love, is now defending you. Like broken leg or not, like I would be flying up there because I can
Yeah.
fly. I don't need to use my leg. But it's like, but in the comics, it was so quick, and that's why he wasn't able to intervene. But in
Right.
this, like the whole time, I'm like, where's Mark? What where is Mark right now? What is he doing? And then we
Right.
see a shot and he's like holding his legs sitting on the ground. And it's like, get up, Mark.
Get up.
Come
Yeah.
on.
I guess I'll play a little bit of devil's advocate here, from the showrunner and the writer's perspective. I think they did that and kind of extended Adam Eve's moment, I guess you could say, to kind of showcase her abilities. Because I feel like we haven't really seen her fight too much in the show. Not
Yeah,
that
we
maybe
had
I'm
her little series or whatever, that little
that's
Adam
true.
Eve show.
That episode, that spin-off episode.
But I do agree with you. I mean,
Mhm.
I loved it because of that. So
Yeah,
I'm definitely aware why they did it, and I loved the scene in general. I just was like, it was head scratching, wondering where Mark was. That's the only qualm I had with
sure.
it. But it was incredible scene from beginning to end.
Yeah. No, I would agree. That was something that I was kind of thinking about too. I was like, what's going on here? Yeah. So, and you're right. I mean, he can fly. Like he doesn't need his legs really.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. Let's jump to the comics. Bryan Cranston is a great voice actor. I'd be on board for that. Awesome. Yeah, I think it would be a great casting. Bunk, Mark's leg gets broken. Why did no one warn me there would be spoilers? I'm sorry. Um, I'm sorry, I did not warn you. There'd be spoilers. It's not like there's a banner or anything that says spoilers. Bunk, I'm curious. Did you watch the show? I'm curious to know what your thoughts are. Yep. Thank you, Adam, for defending me here. Yes. I do like how they showcased Adam Eve's powers. I will say, let's take a pause here real quick. I'll highlight you.
Yeah. Sidebar. Bunk. I got more Zoe Thorogood. I just know you would appreciate that, so just wanted to show that off. Double Zoe Thorogood.
I
Okay,
love it.
continue. Sorry.
I love it. Bunk says didn't watch it, but I've read the comic multiple times. Gotcha. Oh yeah, I did ask. I think I asked Bunk when I had him on the channel about Invincible, and he said he hasn't watched. I don't think he's watched any of it. Yeah, and that's just one of the shows I don't think he's planning on watching. But going back to Adam Eve, I do like how they showcase her powers. Like I said, I guess besides that episode, the standoff or spin-off episode, whatever, I feel like we haven't really seen her fight too much, at least to this extent. So that was nice to see that, and whatnot. And we kind of get a little bit of explanation as to behind her powers and why she can't like mess with organic material and whatnot. And here she does, right? And so we get an explanation that there's some firewall up in her brain that doesn't let her unless she's in like a life or death situation. So here it makes sense why she's able to do that. Yeah, I thought it was really well done for the most part. I did enjoy it. Yeah. And Mark, he gets his ass whooped, but he comes out on top. Surprisingly. Yeah, he comes out on top. I thought it was wicked badass, the entire fight scene from Mark's perspective. Yeah, I thought it was great.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Steven Yeun, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I thought his performance overall was phenomenal. Like really, really emotional and visceral, and you really felt the pain in some of his screams and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But one of my little gripes again, and maybe I'm an idealist, like I just want things to be perfect, maybe. I don't know. But was the I can see the future and you don't live to see tomorrow scene.
Mm-hmm.
So in the comics, hits so hard. I mean, holding Adam Eve's lifeless body, looking up at Conquest, just beat into a bloody pulp, and saying that with just tears streaming down his face. I just thought not only was the animation a little lackluster, where like, it didn't seem like Mark was like, sniveling, just ugly crying because the woman he loves was just killed in front of him. But I also feel like the line delivery by Steven Yeun should have just, he should have really put the beans in that acting performance. Like that should have been everything he had in that line delivery, because it is such an emotional moment. And I just feel like it fell a little flat as far as that specific scene and portion of dialogue.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, that's something that didn't really stick out to me, but I guess comparing it to the comics, I can see kind of where you're coming from with that for sure. I thought it was pretty badass. Overall, I thought it was great. I do think Steven Yeun, I apologize, I'm probably butchering his last name. Hopefully I'm close, but I thought incredible voice acting. I thought it was great. Yeah, it's top notch voice acting and whatnot. I thought it, yeah, phenomenal stuff across the board there.
Absolutely.
Um, anything else to really add about this finale that you can think of?
Um, no, I mean, I think overall, I think they really hit the nail on the head, and they stayed true to the comics um to a decent amount. I mean, I don't think they deviated too hard.
Right.
But I am happy with, because going back to our conversation during the last Invincible show, I do think they portrayed the fight as important as it should be, because that was my biggest worry, was the fight was going to feel rushed, and
Right.
I was fearful of that, but I did not feel that, and so I am happy with the outcome and the performance of it. But yeah, I mean, I think it was, especially kind of knowing where it's going, I think people are going to be so pumped, just to continue, um, just how brutal it gets from here, and
Sure.
and crazy too. I mean, it gets absolutely just bananas as far as some of the things that happen.
Yeah, I think. What would you rate it out of 10? This episode.
Oh, this episode, probably like a 9, maybe even 9.5. I mean, it was
Yeah,
bordering perfect for me.
I would completely agree. I'm right. Yeah, I would say 9 or 9.5. I'm not sure which one, but it's definitely a 9 for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah,
Um, it was a roller coaster in such good television. Like
yeah.
that's why I love this show so much. It's just such good television. And I feel like, well, I guess there are amazing TV shows out there right now. Like some of the best. Severance, which I know you haven't watched. Really encourage you to watch that. With The White Lotus, which I don't think you've watched either.
Yeah,
Really think you should watch that. Um, like those two shows in particular and the show, some of the best TV just in general. Like seriously, so
yeah,
good. Um, so yeah, this episode I'd give it a 9, I think. A 9 out of 10. Maybe like, it's a tough one though. I would go a 9.5 because I really don't have too many flaws with it
yeah.
overall.
I
Like it
I
was go
I
ahead.
do wonder if you're in the same camp as me, like, which maybe you're not, because you've admittedly said you kind of forget things you read and you
Yeah.
like it that way because you can reread stuff. But I really wish I didn't read Invincible
Hmm,
before seeing this. Like, I wish I could have
interesting.
experienced it raw and uncut. Like, I feel like it would have been like, I don't know, like a milestone in my life as far as like TV shows
Wow.
go.
Wow.
As
That's
far as
high
TV
praise.
shows go, not in general.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, thank you for clarifying that. Yeah, that's interesting. I haven't really thought about that. About I imagine though, for fans out there, and let's try to put ourselves in their shoes a little bit. Watching it for the first time, not reading the comic, like it would like yeah, it would be an experience to watch
Yeah,
this episode
yeah,
for sure. Because and like I'm kind of in that position, like I remember major events from the series, from the comic, but like specific details, I'm like, I'm not really sure how this is going to play out for the most part. So it was an experience watching it. I
yeah,
will say it was, yeah, it was incredible. Like I said, just good television. And I hope the wait isn't too long for season 4. I don't think it's announced or confirmed when it's coming out. I don't think it's going to be next year. I think they said that. So I think probably in like 2 years or so. That's um, that's where I would think it would be. Hopefully not a big gap like season 1 and season 2. That was like I think 3 years. I want to say, but yeah, something like that. Um, let's see. A fifth of Jack agreed with Tyler. I think it would have a deeper impact with the show and not reading the comics. Yeah, no, for sure. for sure. I would completely agree there too. Yeah. Um, let's jump over to the comments, but before we end too, I do want to talk about season 4 predictions because we're kind of left on some teasers as well. So we'll jump into that in a second here, but I do want to just jump over to the comment section. Bunk says, "Life is Strange, Forget Me Not had a really cool premise and some really heartbreaking moments, wrapped up a little too clean and conveniently, but the ride to get there was great." Yeah, maybe I'll have to try to check that one out. You said Zoe Thorogood writes it, doesn't do the art. Is that it?
Yeah, she writes it, and Claudia Leonardi does art on it.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Cool. I guess that's actually it for the comments for the most part. Oh wait, no, I'm sorry. I'm missing one from Adam here. That's it. I'm going to rewatch the entire series, then reread that book. I want to see how much it changes my feelings about the show. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Let me know how that. Maybe you should try to do a video on that of Fifth of Jack. That'd be cool. I'd watch that.
I think I want to reread it too.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to try to work something out and try to incorporate it into the show, rereading it. We'll have to see. We'll have to we'll talk about that behind the scenes, if you will. But let's talk a little bit about season 4 and what to look forward to. So the first thing, I feel like there's 3 kind of things they kind of set up here. Maybe there's more and I'm missing some, but first we get those Martian alien whatever I can't remember the tentacle squid things, you know?
Sequids.
Yeah, whatever they're called. So those are going to be making a return. Which I imagine that will be like a mid-season thing for next season. Like that's not going to be the big bad of season 4. That's going to be kind of like a smaller threat that they take out eventually. They're just kind of setting that up. So it will be interesting to see how that plays out. I can't. Do they come back in the comics?
Yeah. So the Sequid or Saquid, I don't know.
Whatever they're called. Yeah.
They come back, and the main point of their existence is to show Mark following through with his promise that he makes at the end of the episode, which he does the same thing in the comics. So you get to see him act out that new initiative, if you will.
Gotcha. And we actually kind of skipped over that too, his character arc. So let's touch on that real quick. He kind of has a change of heart, I guess.
Yep.
Or a change of philosophy, if you will, about killing his enemies. He decides that no, he was not correct with his previous thinking. Yep. And that there are some people who I guess kind of deserve capital punishment, if you will. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, it makes sense for the context of the story and everything. And honestly, I'm kind of glad. Like, that's kind of my biggest gripe I have with Batman, to be honest. Yeah. Is that it's like, dude, you're really like you're like the Joker's gonna get out again, dude. Like you got to take him out at some point. Like you're just being stupid. Like that's we could do a whole show on that, I imagine. So
why Batman's stupid?
Well, don't quote me on that. Well, in that sense, maybe a little bit, a little naive almost. But a similar school of thought, right? Where he's like, there people can be redeemed and whatnot, and here he says no. That Oliver was right. That some people do just need to be taken out, and it's going to be interesting to see if it could, because Cecil's whole standpoint is somewhat similar. Well, not really. His thing is like people can be redeemed and they can be useful if rehabilitated, right? So they're kind of at the opposite points of the spectrum here. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out in the future as well.
Yeah, I think we also need to touch on Cecil's development, kind of what he's doing in the Pentagon, which we can touch on. But
Yeah,
yeah, I mean the overarching tone and character arc behind Mark is him constantly not wanting to be like his dad. You know, he doesn't want to kill, he doesn't want to be brutal, he doesn't want to look at, living creatures, humans as animals or anything like that. And we're seeing at the end of this that he's kind of embracing that attitude to a certain extent. Like I don't think
right.
he's going to uh, cause any races or anything to go extinct. But yeah, I mean, I think it was a incredible scene. It was like, man, Mark's here to play. And then going into the next season, we're gonna see that kind of his past show up time and time again, and he has to handle it with this new way of thinking. So I think it's gonna be quite interesting to see him tackle that new view, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. I agree. I agree. Yeah, I don't think he's gonna like if he catches someone like robbing a store. I don't think he's gonna like kill them or like
Yeah,
rip
no.
their head off. You know, like maybe that person could be rehabilitated. You know, or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, but I think for the bigger villains like Angstrom Levy and the Moeller twins and whatnot, um, we'll see. Well, the Moeller twins are dead,
Yeah.
unless there's another clone out there. But I feel like they maybe they would have set that up or teased that. But even that, I feel like in the context of the show, that's like overplayed with the Moeller twins.
Yeah.
Like they need to stay dead, in my opinion. Um, so yeah, we'll see how that plays out in season 4. His realization of that, I guess.
Yeah. I think season 4 is going to be a lot like season 2, where it's going to put in the building blocks for season 5, which will be the next
Mm,
like major arc, very similar to Invincible War. But I think season 4 is going to mainly be focusing on, Angstrom Levy, the Sequids. I think even in the comics, the Flaxens pop up again, I think, and he has to apply this new way of thinking. And then when it comes to Angstrom Levy, he even kind of, questions himself a little bit too. So it's going to be a very, very, hilly ride as far as his way of thinking and how he thinks he should handle things. So I think season 4 will be very emotionally driven, but it'll be
right.
putting in the building blocks. And then season 5 will be back to brutality, action, and everything like that again.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Um, At the Jack, is Batman the hero or the villain of Gotham's story? Ooh, I think there's an argument to be made for both.
I would agree.
I kind of do. Yeah, I kind of do. Let's talk a little bit about Cecil and kind of what he's been up to, though.
Yeah.
So he's still very much. It seems like he's um, uh, reanimating the dead and Invincibles
Yep.
to be turned into these droids, which is smart. Like I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Why would
Yes.
you not do that? So I don't know. I don't know. So it'll be interesting to see maybe if Mark he doesn't like that. Kind of like how he does at the beginning of the season, right? If his stance changed on that. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think that
I
will
think
change
this is
more?
where it gets into like the tone of the friction between Mark and Cecil. So in like the comics, it almost came across as Cecil was weaponizing them almost in a way of um, if he has to release it on anyone, he will do so,
Right.
which makes kind of sense, but it's a little dark. Again, it's a moral gray area. Like he wants to protect the world, but with like a, you know, dead invincible clone Iron Fist, so be it. But in this, again, going back to that tone between the Mark and Cecil friction, I think this is kind of to protect the world from villainy and from if Mark turns into the next Omni Man, which is like makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah.
So that's where like the tone kind of changes the trajectory of the character a little bit and kind of bothers me a little bit. But I mean, again, this is a different interpretation, so it is what it is. But yeah, I mean, I agree with him. I love that he's doing that, and this version of Cecil, I love that he's doing that, and he's preparing for the next conquest or the next Vultramite to come and back Mark up with these new Reanimen.
Yeah, yeah. You hit the nail on the head with that. Like, it makes perfect sense why Cecil's doing what he's doing.
Yeah,
And I feel like there has to be like the rug, because like from my viewpoint right now, Cecil's he's a good guy. Like
yeah,
he's not like this villain or this like anti-hero. Maybe he's kind of anti-hero-ish in the show, but I feel like even more so in the comics, we kind of see his villainous side. But here we really haven't gotten that yet.
yeah,
And we almost side with him, you know?
yep,
So I feel like the rug does kind of have to be pulled out from under us at some point in the show. And show us that, oh no, Cecil, he's not this good guy. And whatnot. So I don't know.
yeah.
Does that ever happen in the comic? Or like,
Which part?
like, so is Cecil, from for me, my memories of reading the comic, he's always been kind of like this anti-hero, but definitely leaned towards more the villainous side, especially towards the end and whatnot. But like I said here, like that's not what he is. So in the comic, is that correct? Like, does he lean more towards like the villainous side,
Yeah,
especially even early on? Yeah,
yeah, because the rug being pulled from underneath of us is the Cecil versus Invincible scene where Cecil essentially is throwing his weight around, like, treating Mark like a dog. Like, when I tell you to bark, you bark. You fight who I tell you to fight. You're mine. And that's where we get that friction. And that's where Mark kind of turns his back on Cecil. But in this, going back to, the beginning of the season, it seemed like Mark was just kind of being a douchebag about it. And Cecil had to set him straight and say,
yeah,
no, like, we need you. And if you're going to threaten me, I'm going to defend myself. Where in the comics, it wasn't that vibe at all. So,
right.
that, I don't know. It's a different iteration. So it's a different character overall. It is what it is. But you're correct. He had a villain tone in the comics way more than in the show.
Yeah. So I guess that's another change they're doing to the character of Cecil. And we'll see. We'll see if where his character goes in this show, because it is different. Like you said, it's a different iteration.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, some of the choices they've made. In the context of the show, it makes perfect sense though why he's doing what he's doing though. So I think it's well done in the show, his character so far.
I agree.
But if they're trying to set him up as like this villain, I think they're failing on that front.
I would agree with that too.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. What else did get set up? We got Dark Blood. Is that the character's name?
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
So that's new for the show, right? Because I really don't remember that.
I really don't remember that either. I remember Darkblood being a detective early in the comic books looking into Nolan, but I
Right.
really don't remember anything that they're referencing.
Yeah. So they tease that there's this being on Earth now that's what was it? That's evil or something like that they can conjure now. I guess.
Yeah, it gave me the vibes of like he summoned Satan is kind of the vibes that I got from it.
Who do you think that is? Because my mind initially goes to Conquest.
I don't know. I mean, if they follow the comics, no.
Okay. I also maybe thought it could be Oliver, that he kind of has this darkened heart a little bit, that he is more like his father, but I don't know if that would make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
So they're talking about this character and how they can conjure him, and so we'll see how that plays out. But I really don't know who that could be. I was also thinking maybe it could be Cecil, but I don't think that would make sense for the show either. Um,
Let's
like
see
I said,
here.
I think Conquest would make sense. That like, oh, now he is on Earth. It makes sense why like Dark Blood's just now talking about conjuring this being or whatever. And Conquest obviously is super sinister, so I guess it would make sense. But yeah, I don't know.
So what I've looked up, it does seem to be original to the show. So
Okay.
I don't know if we ever will know until we watch, but if it is in the comics, then that is a hardcore blind spot that I have because
Yeah, I don't think it is. I don't think I feel like I was talking to someone else about the show. I can't remember
yeah,
who. Maybe Bat Cato. I want to maybe some. Um, and anyhow, that person said it was original for the show too. So I think it is. I think it
yeah,
is.
because my wife asked me right away, and I was like, I have no clue.
Mm.
I felt like I was like failing as a nerd. I was like, I don't remember that at all.
Oh, that's funny. The first time ever you failing as a nerd, huh? So yeah, I am intrigued though to see where that storyline goes and who
Yeah.
this person is that they're summoning or creature, whatever. Yeah, I'm excited to see how that plays out. I will say that. We also get Battle Beast set up again,
Yep.
and I really don't remember what happens with his character in the comic. I kind of have an idea, but I'm not 100% sure. So I am excited to see where that goes.
Yeah, he plays a big role, and so does the character of Tech Jacket, which is the Iron Man like character. He ends up playing a little bit bigger of a role. So those are
Hmm.
two characters to remember going into next or following seasons at least.
Is Tech Jacket in the show? Did he get introduced and I missed that?
Yeah, he takes on is it Mustache Mark outside of
Hmm.
the like in space. He's fighting him. He's essentially Iron Man.
Oh, yes. I remember that now. Yes. Okay. Got it. Got it. Um, interesting. Yeah. Like I said, I kind of have an idea where that's going, but I'm not 100% sure. So
Yeah.
and I'm sure by the time the show comes out, if I haven't reread the comic, I will have absolutely no idea where it's going. So that would be interesting too. The character of Battle Beast, he's getting his own comic
A
soon
prequel.
by
Yeah.
I think Ryan Otley and Robert Kirkman.
Yep.
Um, so that are you going to check that out? That's kind of interesting that they're doing a Invincible comic after so many years, and it's Battle Beast. I feel like
I'll maybe check out the first issue and then wait for a trade.
okay, that's fair. I will if I, yeah, I'll have to wait to see what people think of it. I guess before I buy it. Battle Beast kind of gets a bit rugged. What does a bit rugged mean?
Like I don't know, just doesn't pay off as a character, but I would
I
disagree
see.
with that. I think he's in the comics at least, which we don't know if they'll stay faithful to, but in the comics, I mean, he becomes a very very cool character. I won't say important character, but very cool character overall.
Sweet, awesome. Fit the Jack. I remember that because Battle Beast and Adam Eve are my favorite characters from Invincible. Well, yeah, I do not remember much about Battle Beast then. I really don't. Yeah. So I thought too. I thought the Battle Beast comic was like a one shot. I didn't think it was like an ongoing series or
I
like
have no
run.
clue.
Hmm. Well, I will probably check it out though. Um. So I think that kind of wraps up season 3.
Yeah.
I don't really have anything else to add. Like I said, great television. I'm excited to see season 4. Hopefully, we get that sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
Yeah, great stuff
In the
overall.
same breath, I hope they really take their time. I would like the animation
Mm.
quality to just improve just ever so slightly, just a little bit.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, I know it's. I guess it's kind of a double edged sword, a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Where we could either get it sooner and not so good animation, or not. I wouldn't even call it awful animation, but lackluster, or we can wait a little bit longer and get better animation. Ultimately, I guess thinking about it, I would agree with you. I'd rather have it bake in the oven a little bit longer before we get anything. But yeah, I think that's going to do it for today's episode. Then
Yeah.
everyone, go watch Invincible season 3 if you have not done so already. Mike Romero, hope you're doing well. Shout out to Mike too. He bought me a Harley Quinn Fortnite skin the other day. My first licensed Fortnite skin. So Mike, thank you again for doing that. That was very nice of you. You did not have to do that, but I absolutely love the Harley Quinn skin. So I have been playing as her nonstop.
Yeah. I
Mike
just
said,
met Mike at the other stream I was in.
"Oh
He,
yeah,
he was in the chat. Yeah,
yeah,
pretty
Mike's
cool. He
awesome.
just got into it, into comics and stuff. It's awesome.
Yeah, he's just getting into reading more comics. He's a big DC fan, and actually, I'm all thank you again. You're awesome, Mike. I'm gonna not call him out, but me and him were playing Fortnite the other night, and we were talking about he brought up Green Lantern the movie, and he holds the opinion that it's actually pretty good. Now, I don't have a horse in this race. I have not seen the film since it came out. I don't remember anything about it, truthfully. So I really don't. I would have to rewatch it. But I was like, it would be a good idea to do it all-in-one nerd show where we revisit the Green Lantern show and maybe have Mike on if he wants to come on. But I'm curious to know, what are your thoughts on the Green Lantern show, movie?
I think it's overhated.
Okay.
I think the casting for Hal wasn't great. I think the design of Parallax and stuff was not great either. I do think some scenes were kind of boring, but I think people acting like
It's the
it's a
worst thing
0
ever.
out of 10. I think that's a little harsh.
Okay. Yeah, interesting. I was wondering what your opinion would be. And like I said, Mike, he likes that film a lot. He does have some issues, he was saying, but overall
Yeah,
he enjoys it. So maybe we will have to do a retrospective, I guess you can call it, on it eventually.
I'm down.
I just thought that that would be an interesting idea, especially with the Lantern show coming out. Well, not anytime soon, probably in a couple of years. But Mike says I miss yearly seasons as a regular thing. Yeah, I kind of do too.
I
I
do
kind
too.
of do too. But I think with some shows, it's almost impossible to do like regular seasons or yearly seasons. Um, let's see. Beyond Comics, agree. Not amazing, but overhated. Interesting.
Yeah,
I think a Green Lantern movie was more script problem, maybe even direction, but felt Ryan did a good job with what he had. Wow. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I've only heard like bad things about it for the most part. Um,
yeah.
so yeah, maybe we'll have to revisit it, like I said. And
There's
it might.
definitely more negatives than positives. Like, don't think I'm saying it needs to win an Oscars anytime soon, but
Okay.
it's definitely overhated. People just hate on anything. So just
Huh.
yeah, we can watch it. I think it would be a fun watch.
I think that would make for a good episode for sure. And uh if Mike wants to come on, he can. Mike used to stream, I guess, too. He used to stream video games, so he's used to being in front of a camera. He does. I don't think he does it anymore though,
Oh, cool.
but he is used to that. Beyond Comics, they should have just done the Green Lantern First Flight animated film as live action.
I agree.
Yeah, Beyond Comics. He was talking about that the other day, yesterday on the show. I believe it was First Flight. I'm pretty sure. I thought the OA scenes were awesome. Yeah, like I said, I really don't remember anything from it. I don't.
Yeah. I would agree that's the highlight of the movie. The training sequence on Oa with Kilowog, everybody's kind of showing up, showing them the ropes. Shows the Green Lantern Corps, which is extremely world building.
Cool. Yeah, we'll have to figure something out because now I kind of want to watch this film. I gotta be honest. I do.
You're gonna hate it. I already know
You think I'm gonna hate it?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, it would make for a good show then. I will say that.
Yeah. I agree.
All right. Well, I think that's gonna do it for Invincible season 3.
Yeah.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. Please go check out Illuminati's channel. If you have not done so already, go subscribe. Watch his latest haul video, came out yesterday. Great video. Also, too, speaking of Green Lantern, I saw that you got the Far Sector Deluxe.
Yes.
You'll have to let me know how that is. You haven't read that yet, have you? I don't think you have.
Yeah, I've read it.
Oh, you have? Yeah. Okay. That book intrigues me a lot. I think I might want to buy that. I might just go with a trade though, to be honest.
It's pretty good, and there is a compact edition for it too, if you really want to
that's
not
right.
all out and just get the story.
That's right. Yes, I forgot about that. A Fifth of Jack. Wait, does Tyler like the movie? I don't think you like it. I think maybe that's an overstatement.
I would say it entertained me. I would say it's like a perfect 5. Like I have tons of issues with it. There's some stuff I like about it. I can watch it and be entertained by it, but I'm not rewatching it anytime soon, unless we have to for the show. But
okay, well, we'll talk about it. Maybe we have if we have a dry week coming up here. We have a couple things to fall back on, but we'll see. But yes, everyone go subscribe to Illuminati. Link to that in the description below. Kay Labruski is going to dislike it.
Yeah.
A Fifth of Jack. That affects what I think Labruski will think about it. Interesting. Okay, maybe. I don't know. Well, I feel like you and I differ on a lot of things when it comes to. Yeah, I think you and I. But no, not hate it. We'll have to see. Thank you, Beyond Comics, for tuning in. I hope you have well, I'm not going to dox him. I was going to say what country he lives in, but I'm not going to go there. He's in a different time zone, though, where it's, I believe it's like early afternoon for him, or maybe even morning. So
and his
Beyond
social
Comics
security is
yeah. Well, I don't know if they have social security in his country. Maybe I don't know. But I think it's like early. Yeah, it's like early afternoon probably where he is. So I don't know why I brought that up. I realize sometimes things just pop in my head. I'm like, let's go with it. When it's like there needs to be more guardrails with me. I need to. Okay. Mike Romero, have a great day. Thank you for tuning in, man. I will be on Fortnite soon if you want to play. And yeah, we can 2 p.m. Sunday. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, wow. But we'll wrap up finally here. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and we will catch you on the next